Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now, our topic today is how to use a color or color tone to modify a black and white photo. All right, so let's dive right in. And here we have this beautiful photo of the bird on top of a rooftop. This is the original image. And we're going to convert that to a black and white image. Let me get over here to show you. And then, using tools like the creative tools like toning, we're going to take that black and white image and we're going to add a little color to it to produce this. Now, keep in mind what's really cool about this is the colors are endless. You can decide whatever color you want or a color tint you want to add to this, all right? So I'm going to show you how I did this from the beginning. For the rest of you, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And while you're there, please hit that thumbs up. Our producers love seeing those thumbs. All right, so let me start over here with the history tool. And I'm going to go right to the original. All right, now we have a choice, as always. We can start with a template, or you can start from scratch. It's entirely up to you. I personally like starting with templates, and here are some of my favorite ones. Soulful, for example, because it just does an amazing job right off the bat, making the image look with a beautiful black and white. All right, so let's let this run a little bit, and there it is. Now I'm going to click Edit, and now I'm into the tools. Now from here, it already did a phenomenal job making it into a black and white. I'm going to take it a step further, and I want to come up here to Accent AI, and I just like it to be just a little brighter. And you'll see why that's going to work really good for us in a moment. So I'm going to come down here, and there are several tools we could use for coloring. You decide which one you like the best. Toning has a great way to, or the toning tool is a great way to separate the shadows along with the highlights. So I'm going to just target the shadows for now, and I'm going to just give it an arbitrary value. Now from here, this is where the hue comes in. Based on 65 for saturation, let's bring it back down a little bit. I'm going to slowly maneuver and go through each of the colors to see which one looks the best with this. I typically, on most of my images, I typically fall in love with the blues because it gives it like that silver effect. But for this image here, we're going to stay down into the golden tones. All right? But I'm just going to keep going all the way through. Oh, actually, that looks pretty good too. But let's come back down here. Here we go. And now I can decide how much of the shadows are going to get that gold tone. All right? Now, we'll go right about there. Turn it on and off. So here's the black and white photo. And here we are adding that tone to it in the shadows, not in the highlights, but just in the shadows. All right. Now, if we do want to add some of the tone to the highlights, I can do the same thing. Typically, if we added gold here, typically I like to add like more blues into the highlights. And let's see. Yep. So here we go. So we could do that, or we can just leave the highlights set to 0 and leave it as a single tone, like in this case here, to where we're adding that little tint to it. Well, now, I love how this looks. It looks great. We can end it from here, click on Export, save it to a disk, and then send it off to social media or, print it. Or if we want to continue, we can come down here, and I'm going to click where this was the original template that we used. I'll click on it, click Save. Once I saved it, I'm going to come over to Templates, And it should be under my templates. And here it is. And let's just rename it. Let's rename this. Let's see. I did name one down here. So I'm gonna rename this here. Let's not call it let's call it black and white. Oh, here it is. Tone right here. Tone black and white. So let's call it color tone. Black and white. And version 2. All right. And now we have it set. So now we can experiment and take it a step further to see if we like adding extra stuff to it. I'm going to jump down here to the super contrast. That's going to allow me to adjust the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows all independently. All right. So let's start with the midtones. Ooh, look at this. Let's bring it out a little bit. And the shadows. And we don't have to go in any set order. Ooh, look at that. So the shadows are going to, if we bring in the shadows like this, it's going to give us a better tone. And then the highlights, let's try to bring back some of those feathers. So now again, I'm giving you an arbitrary number. The balance is what does the trick. See, look at that. So if I go here, if I go this way, it's giving me more like a flat color. So this is good. Great, I like that. Let's see what it did. Before, after, good. And then while I'm at it, let's come up here to the light tool. And typically I like to enrich the black, so I take that to a negative value. Now, too far is going to look muddy. But I'm going to bring it in right about here. Looks good. I like how it's drawing that attention right to the bird. And the image itself could use a little more sharpening or a little more detail. So let's bring the medium details up just a touch. And some of the finer details. And whenever you're looking at it, whenever you're adjusting like details or the denoise tool, try to do it at 100% to 200%. So this way you can actually zoom in and see the effect it's having. If it's at a regular number like 23 or 24, you're not going to really see the effect. All right? So let's look at it here before. Give it a second. And then after. Good. You see how it was just enough to where it's not going to over sharpen it, but it just gives it that little edge that we're looking for. All right, so far I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Here's before, and here's after. Let's come down here again. Ooh, mystical. Could be another cool one. So with mystical, it's going to make it a little softer and a little blurrier around the background. So let's give it a mystical effect. Look at that. See that? And here it is. Here's the smoothness. We go with the negative value or with a positive value. That's it. Here's what it looks like before and after. Good. And here, again, you have more control over the different colors. I'm not going to use these, but I just want to show you what they could do. From here, you could desaturate the image, and let's take it all the way. You can bring it all the way back, and that's just going to take away any of the colors. So now the tone is in there, and then here's the warmth. You bring it back. Let's see what that does. And the golden. Not a whole lot, so we're actually good there. And I'm going to double click on saturation just to bring it back to the default value. And we're pretty good. All right. So when would we do stuff like this? So if you're looking at an image and the color is competing too much with the object or the subject, then convert it to black and white. And here's a really quick way to add some cool tone effects, like a dual tone or a monotone to the image just by adding that tone tool. Or you saw some of our other tools that we can add a little splash of color to the tone of the image itself. All right. So again, typically I like to do that when the color is competing with the subject and is taken away from the subject. All right. Good. So now let's check out some of the comments. All right. Gary says, is that a Jonathan Livingston seagull? I'll say yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm not a nature photographer, so I'm not quite sure. I'm sure Gary does know. Hello to our friends over in Chile. Good. And hello to our friends over in France. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. So that's how we could take a nice color image, convert it to black and white, and add just some extra tone or color to the tonal range. All right? Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.